Welcome, everybody, to Football Discussion Daily. My name is Joe, here with co-host
EGO.
CGO, or George. Today is the 11th of February, 2026. We are talking about there are 5 Premier League games today. I'm going to read off the results real quick. Liverpool 1, Sunderland 0, Villa 1, Brighton 0, Forest 0, Wolves 0, Burnley 3, Palace 2, City 3, Fulham 0. The other big news today is Thomas Frank was sacked this morning by Tottenham. We will touch on all these briefly, but George, real quick, just to open up, what was your most what result stood out to you most today, and which game do you feel like was the best game?
For me, I never expected Burnley to go to Crystal Palace and get victory. So that was a big surprise for me. It was an upset. I was expecting Crystal Palace to consolidate on their win over Brighton at the Amex Stadium last Sunday. But the funny thing is that they were leading 2-0, and within a few minutes, Burnley turned around everything, equalized, and they went ahead. And I was thinking maybe when Crystal Palace comes in the second half, they'll be able to at least get an equalizer or do something, special. But it never happened that way. So that was a big surprise for me because I wasn't expecting Burnley, considering how they've been struggling in the Premier League, to go to Crystal Palace home and get victory. So that was a big surprise.
Yeah, that's good. I was actually surprised by that as well. I've seen a couple of Burnley games. I can't say I've seen all of them, but they have not been very good. I would say even worse than Wolves. But and I didn't watch this game either. But I am impressed that they were able to A, score 3 points, and B, get a victory. I ultimately don't think it'll be good enough, but I do like how at least all the three every team at the bottom is fighting. I feel like the last 2 years we've really missed that. We've seen a couple teams go down with a whimper. The relegation race has been settled. I think that there's several teams that feel like they're being chased. Tottenham's been dragged into that. Palace has been dragged into that. Certainly Forest, Leeds aren't out of the woods yet. West Ham is also making it interesting by picking up points. So an exciting relegation race is great for the league. I think it's one of those rare seasons where we have a title race that'll go down to the final match day or two, relegation race will go down, and we usually have European spots. So Burnley also surprised me, and I feel like it'll be good for the rest of the season. George, what about the big teams that faced today? We had City 3, Fulham 0. We have Liverpool squeak out a game against Sunderland. Which of those results surprised you more? How comfortable City was, or Liverpool actually turning around their form a bit and getting that win?
No, we must give credit to Liverpool going to Sunderland, and then they turn off the light at the Stadium of Light today in front of the Sunderland fans. Remember, Sunderland haven't lost any game uh, at the Stadium of Light. But today, Liverpool came and did what Arsenal couldn't do, what City couldn't do. So one must really give Liverpool credit. I saw a very determined Liverpool side today that really wanted to get results because they knew what was at stake. And Virgil van Dijk really showed why he's the captain of Liverpool, taking responsibility and getting a goal for his team through a corner kick and then from Salah, and he nodded the ball into the net. That was a very good one. And I feel defensively, Liverpool were very good today. I saw Kanate making sure that Brobbey couldn't, because that guy is so physical. He has a lot of stamina. He knows how to bully defenders. But today, Ibrahim Kanate was able to check him properly. And we must give credit to Liverpool for going there and getting victory and doing what others couldn't do. So that's a very big result. I wasn't expecting Liverpool to get a win there. Remember yesterday, I predicted it to end in a draw, but Liverpool proved me wrong today.
This is a kind of Liverpool. I felt have had 2 or 3 big weaknesses all year, and 2 of them I felt were non-issue today. Number one, that second center back next to Van Dijk has been shaky all year, and Van Dijk has been fine. He hasn't been, 5 years ago, Van Dijk was like one of the best center backs ever. Van Dijk is still very good, not quite as good as he was, but very good. Konate has been weak all year. Gomez has been weak. Konate, great. The second issue was creativity. I feel like they lost Trent. Verts has taken a while to ramp up, and he's gotten there. The third issue I saw very much today, and that is their wingers have been awful all year. Not awful by Liverpool standards. Salah and Gakpo. Salah last year also started dropping off when it came to non-finishing, but he was still finishing, so who cared? But again, he's really dropped off, and I felt, yeah, he had a decent free kick for that. He placed it right on Van Dijk, but for the rest of the game, I feel like he was a black hole, and the same with Gakpo, and so I feel like that is a squad issue that is great. That is going to be hard for them to handle, and I feel like they did not quite plan through what losing Diaz and Nunez would do to that team. So again, I feel like Gakpo has been their weak link this year, and that yeah, he has also had a poor game by what I feel like is a Liverpool winger standards. But the whole team, mentality wise, I agree with you, George. Shutting down Sunderland for 90 minutes, like they locked it down. There was a couple chances. I feel like Wirtz was quite creative today, and I do feel like McAllister has also had a not the best season either. Him and Kanate both, and they both played quite well today, from what I saw. So I was impressed with Liverpool, the mentality. This is not a team that's given up. This is a team that believes in their manager. I feel like Slot has gotten a lot of flack for what I feel like is poor management by the upper from Liverpool.
Honestly, I was very impressed the way they approached the game. It was obvious that they really showed us that they really wanted to win this game, because for you to make the top four, these are the kind of performance you have to put up. The only challenge Liverpool might have this season is the wingers, like you rightly said. Gakpo he has not been at his best. Mohamed Salah has not been great this season. That's just the only challenge they have. For Ugo Ekitike has been he has always shown his presence. He has always been doing very well. Any defenders that plays against him knows you are going to be really dealt with. So that's the only person in the front line of Liverpool who has always um, given a very good performance. The other front guys have not really been very impressive. What it means is that if Ugo Ekitike, if anything happens to him, maybe like injury or that, it means Liverpool might struggle when it comes to the attacking side of their team.
Yeah,
So
and
I just hope nothing happens to the guy, so that at least he can take Liverpool to where they really deserve to be.
And Hugo Ekitike, he actually has said earlier in the season that he struggled to adapt to the physicality of the Premier League. I think that Slot has really managed his minutes because it is tiresome. Like I don't think the Premier League is any like that much better than Spain or Germany, but like it is more physical and it is more draining on a body, and it does take some getting used to. And Hugo Ekitike is tall and lanky, and yeah, they struggle without him in the side. He's been great when he's on. George, let's move on real quick because there's a lot of stuff today. City played Fulham. It was 3-0. Did you watch this game? Did you see? I thought this game, from what I saw, was quite boring. I think I saw a statistic, George. Pep Guardiola has beaten Marco Silva 16 straight times. And I have an actual quote from Marco Silva after the game. He said, "Nobody beats me 17 times in a row. I'm going to get him next time." I'm just kidding. That didn't happen. But it was fact as Olympiacos days to Watford to Hull to Everton. Marco Silva has lost to Pep Guardiola 16 times, which is quite a lot. Man City has beaten Fulham, I think, like 10 straight times or something like that. This game, Fulham did not have a hope. I don't know, but going to Etihad is tough too. I mean, City, I feel like is ready for a title bout. They've won two very important games, and Arsenal, is catchable.
For me, I feel City only played well in the first half. Probably maybe the reason why they didn't really uh, play that exciting game in the second half was probably they felt they've already gotten the job done in the first half, because they scored their three goals in the first half uh, through Anton Semeyo, O'Reilly, and also Erling Haaland, who scored his 22nd Premier League this season, which is something very commendable of him. Second half, maybe because of the changes they made, because a lot of changes were made, I didn't see much from Man City in the second half. Fulham, I think Fulham played much better in the second half than in the first half, probably because they were trailing by 3 goals to nil. They were trying to see how they can reduce the deficit, try to get into the game, but the damage was already done in the first half. So for me, the second half wasn't as exciting as the first half was. Second half was a bit not exciting.
Yeah, I recorded this one. I mean, I recorded Liverpool Sunderland and watched most of that, and I watched just the highlights of this one, and it did not look. It looked like a very boring 3-0 game. I don't feel like it's reflective. I think it's more reflective of what City is capable of going forward. I do feel like we'll see City really strive on in the run in. I think Pep Guardiola has integrated some very important players in January into their squad. Yehi looked phenomenal in both games I've seen of City. George, you asked me who I think was one of the man of the matches. I thought he was one of the man of matches against Liverpool. He actually did very well against Ekitike. Gehi did,
Yes,
and
yes,
I
yes,
feel
yes.
like I've in the past said Gehi is a very good player who's getting paid like a great player. But he's played like a great player for a month, and I might be eating my words there, because he's been phenomenal. George, other news of the day: Thomas Frank getting sacked. It happened this morning. We've talked about it. This is not a surprise. He's been under a lot of pressure. Do you feel like it's the right move?
For me, that's what happens when the results are not coming. Remember when we spoke yesterday, I told you with that result they had with Newcastle that this man might lose his job. So when I got the news this morning that he has been sacked, well, it didn't come to me as a surprise because if in the year 2026 you haven't won any game and uh, they've been very poor. In their last 10 games, I don't think they've even won up to 2 games. I can't remember when last Tottenham won a game. So that's a very poor performance from Tottenham. And if you look at the statistics of the win rate Thomas Frank had, he had the poorest in the last 10 managers Tottenham has had. I think about 20 something percent. That is very awful. So that is enough to get a manager fired when the results are not forthcoming. Considering that the club have spent a lot of money, we might try to argue that no, the quality of players are not good enough. But I still disagree that Tottenham doesn't have quality players. I still believe they have quality players. That if you have a coach that can manage the team properly, they can at least not be on the position where they are on the table. It's a disgrace to a club like Tottenham to be occupying, I think, the 16th position on the Premier League table.
You
That's
know,
that's ridiculous.
George, before Harry Kane came along, Tottenham were very regularly bottom half team. Like they didn't never got relegated, but they were down there. After Harry Kane left, I feel like that's going to be the norm again. I feel like this team is not good. I disagree with you. I feel like this team is 2 years away and development away. Is Thomas Frank the person to do that? No. I do feel like it was probably the smart move to fire Frank. I feel like it's a really difficult position because the fans expect eighth, ninth, 10th. Like they expect that. I feel like their team is not good enough for that. There's a lot of guys who are good, but their egos are so high. Van de Ven is a good player with an ego of a great player. Same with Kudus, same with Chimmins. They've not accomplished anything in the Premier League, and I feel like it's if those are your leaders, those are your best players in your team. Madison is actually fantastic, but he's been hurt for a year and a half. Udogi is actually I've actually been really impressed with him. Polina is great defensively, but offers nothing offensively. This is a weak, imbalanced squad. You can see that I feel like it's a project team that's 2 years away from anything, and I feel like that firing Frank resets pressure on players and coaches, players, manager, and ownership. But at the same time, this squad is not good enough, despite all the investment. And investment doesn't mean anything if you invest in bad players, and you develop them weekly, which I feel like they have. And I feel like George, I've been telling people today, I would bet 100 push-ups. I don't bet for money, but I would bet 100 push-ups that Thomas Frank, wherever he ends up, whether it's Crystal Palace or Bournemouth next year or wherever, I bet you that he finishes above Tottenham. And I bet you that Brentford finish above both.
See, Joe, one thing you must understand is what you are saying is a possibility. But what I want to tell you is there are coaches that cannot manage the pressure at a big club side.
Tottenham's
There
not
are
a big club.
Tottenham is among
No,
the
they're
big
not.
six. They're among the big six.
The media calls them Big Six, but they've won one trophy in 25 years. That is not a big club. They've won one trophy since 2000, and it was the Europa League after getting 17th place.
So why are they calling them the big six?
Because they had one of the best players of all time in England, graduated their academy, and stayed there until he was 30, and it propped up the club for 10 years. That's why. Because they actually were one of the best six teams on the field. But Villa is a bigger club historically and a better team right now. Everton is a bigger team historically and a better team right now than Tottenham. Those guys are close.
Villa only came into conversation when we had on Emery taking the aim of affair at Aston Villa. Aston Villa was
Villa has more leagues. They have a European Cup. Like
okay.
Historically, they are a bigger team than Tottenham, and they are a better team right now. Like
in the last 10 years, which of the two sides have achieved more in the last 10 years or in the last decade? I will always pick Tottenham ahead of Aston Villa in terms of achievement. I know they've won the Champions League before.
Tottenham have one trophy. Like qualifying for the top four, if that's your goal, is not achievement, George. Like Villa is actually trying to win stuff. They're in a title race, which Tottenham's in one of in their history in like 2017, and I guess maybe in 2016 against Leicester. But Tottenham haven't won a title in 60 years. Aston Villa have won many since a couple since then. I don't know how many actually, but I disagree. I think they're a bigger club, and this is a conversation we can talk about this tomorrow more in depth. But I would also say that going forward, 10 years from now, I mean, if I had a crystal ball, I'd guess that Everton and Villa are going to be more successful in the next 10 years than Tottenham. There's nothing special about Tottenham that they can and should be better than Villa or Everton over the next 10 years. Again, I feel like they just happen to graduate an all-time player 12 years ago from their academy. That's what makes them better the last 10 years.
Well, I'm thinking a team that has a player like Paulinha in their team, that has a Conor Gallagher in the team, that has a Dominic Solanke in their team, is not a team that should not be performing very well. They have quality players in that team that a good coach should be able to at least be on the mid-table, not on 16th position. That's poor.
I disagree. I feel like this team for 2 straight years has basically been 17th place team for 2 years over two different managers. And George, I believe the next manager will be right around that points per game as well. George, I'd love to talk to you more about this. We have a lot of stuff to talk about just over the coming weeks, so we'll have more time to talk about this. So I'm going to close out today with a couple questions. Who finishes higher next year in the Premier League? Thomas Frank, Spurs. Now I'm going to say Brentford because that's where Frank came from, and we're above Spurs right now. I think Frank ends up at a Palace or something like that. Arsenal, Brentford tomorrow. What's your prediction? I predict 2-2. And has Liverpool turned a corner? Has Arne Slot turned a corner? Are they going to go and qualify for the Champions League? This is a big match day for them because they gain points on Chelsea and United. Let us know your thoughts. Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.